You don't hear about the Afar people because their story sits in one of the most extreme places on earth. And most people never look beyond the surface of Africa to understand what's really there. My name is Noreen and this is Real Africa Stories, and I'm here every single day sharing African stories. So follow me if you want more of this. I want to tell you about the Afar because at first you might think this is just a story about people who live in unbearable heat. But the deeper I looked into it, the more I realized this is actually a story about survival, identity, and one of the most important landscapes in human history. The Afar live across Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Eritrea in a place called the Danakil Depression. And when I say extreme, I really mean it. This is one of the hottest places on Earth, where temperatures can go beyond 50 degrees, and the ground is cracked with salt. Volcanoes are active, and the air is described as feeling very heavy. And yet, people have lived here for generations. But the heat is not the most important part of their story. What really stayed with me is that this same land, the land of the Afar, the land that they walk on today, is where the most important human fossils was discovered. Her name was Lucy, an early human ancestor from the species, now I'm going to try a very difficult word, Australopithecus afarensis. My God. And when you really sit with that, you start to understand that this isn't just a remote desert. This is part of the story where we come from as human beings. So imagine that for a moment. You are living your life, raising your family, herding your animals on land that connects directly to the origins of humanity. And the Afar are traditionally pastoralists, which means that they move with their camels, with their goats and livestock, and they are constantly adapting to the environment around them. And for centuries, they've also been part of one of Africa's oldest trade systems, cutting blocks of salt from the earth and then transporting them in long caravans across the region. And salt here, it's not just a resource. It was power, it was currency, and it was survival. They were never just people passing through the desert either. They had their own systems of leadership, including the Sultanate of Ossa. And I bet you've never heard of the Sultanate of Ossa. And they had figures of, like Hanifare Ali Mira, who represented Afar identity and autonomy in a changing political landscape. Isn't it such a beautiful thing that the Afar totally ignored the borders that were drawn? Because when the unwanted borders were drawn across Africa, they didn't take communities like the Afar they didn't take them into account. So today, Afar people are spread across 3 countries, and that has created real challenges around identity, land, and representation. And on top of that, you have drought, climate pressure, and political neglect in some areas. So survival today is not just about the environment. It's about navigating systems that were never designed with them in mind. And when I think about that, what really stands out to me is not just that they survived, but how they've held on to who they are. They've held on to their language, their traditions, their way of life. In a world that is constantly trying to change or erase that. The Afar are not just people living in a harsh environment. They're part of a much bigger story. A story of human origins, of trade, of resilience, and identity that most of us were never taught. If you're from Ethiopia or Djibouti or Eritrea, Or if you know this story in a deeper way, I really want to hear from you. What does the Afar story mean to you? This is the Africa you're not shown, but I'm here to show you.